In the days of its infancy, the stunt performer's profession was pioneered by the daring and ingenuity of acrobats and circus acts. As the public's demand for on-screen chases, crashes, jumps, smashes, and explosions is never satisfied, so the stunt performer has evolved into a highly trained professional. This is not a life for the timid. This is where men and women challenge the impossible and make it happen before your eyes.
We've covered a lot of ground in Stunt-Tember, from my favorite stunt show of all time, to my favorite operating stunt show, to my favorite stunt show on the coast that I live on. So what better way to round out the month than with a stunt show that's just like Lights, Motors, Action, but down under. In 2007, rumors began swirling around Warner Brothers Movie World that the Police Academy stunt show would be replaced by a new show branded by Hot Wheels! Beat that! The park would announce in early 2008 that the Police Academy show would be replaced by an entirely new show inspired by Disney's Lights, Motors, Action called Hollywood Stunt Driver. With that, the arena was not only cleared, but also made to be even bigger to accommodate the new show. The show had a delayed opening on December 26, 2008, with certain stunts being cut from the final version, presumably due to logistical problems. In 2009, a motorcycle-based version was created for the park's Halloween Fright Nights event, helmed by Showtime FMX. We'll hear more from them later, but for now, let's take a look at Hollywood Stunt Driver. Located in the center of the park, just past Main Street, guests would queue up and enter the main 2,000-person arena with very little fanfare. Once the show starts, the audience is introduced to both our two hosts, a cameraman named Dave and a new crew member named Marty, who explain that they're shooting second unit footage in Italy for a new film by the prestigiously made-up director Morgan Ross. After some silly audience shenanigans, cars take the stage and drift around for a bit before introducing the drivers as the Hell Drivers, and the audience gets to meet Morgan Ross himself. Before he can start the scene, he gets chewed out by Hudson, the producer. They set the scene and call action as a motorcycle rides on set with intense music blasting. One rider gets off to rob a jewelry store and steal a rally car as a getaway vehicle. One problem: Marty ruins the scene by first refusing to get out of the car, then by chasing it around before having it run over his foot. The director calls cut and sends Marty off for more goofy shenanigans. As they try to reshoot the scene, Hudson appears to say there's no time or room in the budget for reshoots, so they have to move on to the next stunt. Okay, that was a bit obnoxious. Let's hope it's not a running trend for the show. The red rally car is chased around the arena by two black police cars. Hey, why does that look familiar? After the cars leave, a motorcycle returns only to be chased briefly by another police car. The scene ends as the cyclist shoots the car in half before getting to— Yeah, that was awesome! Wait, you weren't done, were you? As I was saying, the cyclist shoots the car in half before Marty ruins the shot again. Ah, dang it! In preparation for the next scene, we see what's been shot so far, including the audience participation bits from earlier in the show spliced into the reels. The next scene is comprised of cars drifting back and forth again and later two-wheeling around the stage. The cyclist returns and drives through a wall of fire before getting caught to end the scene. Hey, look at that! Marty didn't ruin the shot this time. You see what happens when you just let awesome things be awesome?
See what happens when you find a stranger in the Alps?
Anyways, the directors comb through the footage that's been shot to see what's salvageable. While trying to reshoot the first scene, Marty runs off and somehow gets stuck in the rally car. Marty goes out of control and drives all around the stage, including the backstage areas. Hudson calls just in time to see an incredibly fake-looking car jump over his head and into an exploding building. I have no idea how the physics of that works, but here we are. Hudson thinks that final shot was awesome, and it's revealed that Marty was his nephew this whole time. After the title drop and a curtain call, the guests are sent back into the park. I'll save my overall thoughts until the end, but first, this version of the show ran until November 21st of 2011, when it was announced at its final show that Hollywood Stunt Driver 2 would be coming to the arena. So how is the current version? Hollywood Stunt Driver 2 was put together by Showtime FMX and opened to the public on February 20th, 2014, and is still running to this day in the very same arena. This version follows the same general premise of the original show, following a second unit filming stunts for a movie. This time, the film is called Inner City Rush. Just like last time, the same crew comes out to shoot some pre-show audience participation stuff for the movie's teaser trailer. Multiple drivers come out on bikes, utes, and cars to drive around the arena and now perform ramp jumps, which was planned for the original version but never made the cut. After that, Morgan Ross comes out to shoot the first scene, which is just more jumping and drifting, but this time it's narrated by the director the entire time. There's some cool motorcycle jumps as a ute just drives around in figure eights on the ground. The director sets the scene for the next run, which will utilize multiple camera angles. I thought that was a given. A guy suspiciously dressed like Marty, but actually named Doug, scales a tower to fix the camera, and the second scene begins. The second scene is yet again more figure eights, but now with two cars doing them, and motorcycles periodically doing the same jumps we saw last scene, but now with more of them doing it. Oh boy, I'm seeing a pattern here, and I don't like it. The scene ends with Doug doing a high fall off the tower he fixed the camera on. As Morgan riles up the crowd, which he's been doing this for every scene in both iterations, by the way. I just thought it would get boring if I kept repeating the same thing over and over again. The third scene starts, and it's once again more motorcycles jumping and cars drifting in figure eights. As the scene ends, we see the final trailer of the movie. Hey, it's just like Stuntman. Ugh. The cars come out and do one final run of, say it with me,
Drifting and jumping.
They give one final curtain call as Doug runs out, but on fire for no reason. Morgan then sends everyone back to the park, concluding their Hollywood Stunt Driver experience. So what do I think of Hollywood Stunt Driver? The first version was overall pretty decent. It had some pretty good stunt work and a nice variety of scenes with an overall easy-to-follow plot. The comparisons to Lights Motors Action are extremely obvious, with many of the same stunts being featured, the plot being nearly identical, and even the cars being similarly color-coded. However, I will note that in this version, the red car is the villain car and the police cars are who you're supposed to be rooting for, as opposed to how it was in Lights Motors Action. Speaking of Lights Motors Action, remember when I said this back in episode 1? You have to suspend your disbelief a bit for the premise of the show not to fade, as largely the cars are just going back and forth through the same area. Yeah, that really applies to this show. Despite growing the arena between Police Academy and Hollywood Stunt Driver, the space is still really small, making it even more obvious that the show is just cars driving back and forth. And while I could forgive that, the show had this issue of not letting the awesome moments just be awesome. They had to somehow turn every scene into a joke. It's kind of like this scene in the 5th Indiana Jones movie.
Give 'em hell, Indiana Jones!
If they just let the cool moments be cool, it would have improved the show a whole lot. Now, what do I think of Hollywood Stunt Driver 2?
That's it? That's
Hollywood Stunt Driver 2.
That was just a bunch of
Drifting back and forth in figure eights.
What a rip!
Warner Brothers Movie World.
Betrayed us!
I don't know, man. The stunts are still impressive, sure, but the show is so underwhelming with all 3 scenes just being slightly more crowded versions of the exact same thing. I really want to like this show as it's the only stunt show that uses the same plot as Lights Motors Action that's still in existence. but it's just too much of a one-trick pony that wears out its welcome very quickly in my opinion. So if you couldn't tell, I think the first version is definitely the better of the two, but both pale in comparison to Lights Motor's action, which they are very clearly trying to be. And that's a wrap on Stunt-Tember. What are your favorite stunt shows? What shows did I miss? Be sure to let me know down in the comments, and if enough of you like this series, I might revive it for a Season 2 next year. With that being said, I'm RCT3 is Epic, and until next time, stay safe. And cut!